All right, today we're going to break down some seriously powerful wisdom from people like Steve Jobs and Denzel Washington. We're going to turn it into a real, actionable guide you can use to build a life that feels, well, more fulfilling. So let's just jump right in. You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Life doesn't just get better on its own. It gets better because you change it. It's not passive, it's an active process. It's all about the little choices you make, one after another, that start to stack up, which, of course, brings up the big question.
It's so easy to get completely overwhelmed, right? You want to change everything all at once. Your health, your career, all your habits, the whole shebang. But the real starting point, the place where it all begins, it's not out there somewhere. It's inside you. It starts with your mindset.
Okay, so the very first step is to build a solid foundation of trust. And I mean trust in the journey itself, even when you have no idea where it's going. It's about embracing the idea that not every single step you take is going to have some immediate, obvious payoff.
This right here was a core part of Steve Jobs' entire philosophy. He believed you have to trust in something. Call it your gut, destiny, karma, whatever works for you. That belief is what gives you the confidence to actually follow your heart, even when it takes you way off the beaten path.
And this story is the perfect example. So Jobs drops out of college, and he ends up taking a calligraphy class just because, well, he was curious. It had absolutely zero practical use in his life back then. None. But then, fast forward a decade, and that one totally random dot connected. It became the very thing that made the first Macintosh computer so special.
And here we have another side of that exact same coin. While Jobs is talking about trusting the path, Denzel Washington talks about trusting the fall. He completely reframes failure. It's not something to avoid or have a backup plan for. It's actually part of how you move forward.
Just look at the difference here. Falling backward, that's all about retreat. It's playing it safe, hoping you don't mess up. But falling forward, that is all about progress. Every single risk, every failed experiment, every stumble, it's just another step that gets you closer to where you want to go. You're going to fail at some point anyway, so you might as well fall toward your goal.
So you've got the mindset. You're ready to fall forward. But how do you actually do it? How do you start walking that path? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, and it all comes down to a single, really powerful number.
Just one, that's it. Probably the biggest mistake any of us make is trying to change everything all at once. But real, lasting change, it doesn't come from some massive, life-altering overhaul. It comes from picking one small thing and just mastering it. Because consistency will always, always beat intensity.
And this is the key. The first habit you build isn't really about reading more books or getting in shape. No, the real habit you're building is showing up for yourself. When you promise yourself you're going to do something small and then you actually do it, you build self-trust. And that self-trust, that becomes the bedrock for everything else you want to achieve. And here's a pretty brilliant way to keep that consistency going. The comedian Jerry Seinfeld used this dead simple system to become one of the best ever. It wasn't about trying to write a masterpiece every single day. It was about something way more fundamental.
So what he'd do is get a big wall calendar, and every single day that he wrote his jokes, he'd put a big red X over that day. After a few days, you've got a chain. And his only job from then on was simple: don't break the chain. It's not about how much you do, it's about doing it daily. That's how you build unstoppable momentum. Okay, so you've got the mindset, you've got the method. But to build that chain day after day, you have to win the battle for your focus. And let's be real, focus is probably the rarest and most valuable skill in the world today. This distinction is just so critical. We live in this age of constant distraction where it's incredibly easy to feel busy. You're answering emails, scrolling through your phone, jumping from one task to another. But as Denzel says, you can run in place all day long and not get anywhere. Real progress demands deep, uninterrupted focus. And this chart, it really shows you how bad the situation is for most of us. A tiny, tiny fraction of the day is actually spent on deep, meaningful work. The rest, it just gets eaten alive by shallow tasks and straight-up distractions. If you don't take control of your focus, you can bet the world will do it for you. But the good news is, you can reclaim it. Just start small. Carve out one small window for deep focus every day. Phone in another room, all notifications off, and work on one single thing. This isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. Focus happens by design, not by accident.
But what is it that fuels this entire engine?
What powers your focus and your consistency, especially on the days when you fall down? It's not just willpower, it's passion. It's the love for what you're actually doing.
I mean, the story of Steve Jobs is the ultimate proof of this. By age 30, he gets publicly fired from the company he built from scratch. It was totally devastating. So what kept him going? He later said, "I'd been rejected, but I was still in love." And that love is what freed him up to enter the most creative period of his life, which eventually led him all the way back to Apple.
And really, it all comes down to this. Your work is going to fill a huge part of your life. So don't settle for something that's just fine. Keep looking for that thing that makes you come alive, because that love is the only thing that's going to sustain you when life inevitably throws a few bricks at your head.
And that brings us to the final, most important piece of the puzzle. How do all these things, the daily habits, the focus, the passion, how do they add up to something truly meaningful? Well, you have to connect them to a bigger purpose, your legacy. Steve Jobs said that knowing he was going to die was the most important tool he ever found. And why is that? Because when you're faced with death, everything else just falls away. All the external expectations, all the pride, all the fear of failure, it's gone. And all that's left is what is truly important. You're already naked. There's literally no reason not to follow your heart.
Denzel Washington says basically the same thing. He reminds us that true success isn't about what you collect or what you own. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse, right? The real joy, the real legacy, it's found in serving others, in what you do with your gifts to help lift people up. It's about aspiring to make a difference.
And so we're going to end with this pretty haunting question. Imagine this. On your deathbed, you're surrounded by ghosts. But these aren't just any ghosts. They're the ghosts of your unfulfilled potential. All the ideas you never acted on, the talents you never used, and they're there because you, and only you, could have brought them to life. So the final question really isn't about what you'll achieve, but who you'll become. How many ghosts will be around your bed?